right, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this.
HyperX alloy, built strong because it has to be.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ORL Season 14, Round 5, as we make our way to Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. I'm Milky Serial, and jumping in to replace Jacob Hancock's tonight is Complacency. Complacency, thank you so much for joining me. Fantastic to have you alongside me.
Yeah, thanks. It's really good to be here. This is pretty exciting. So just did Split B last week, and really excited to watch the quick boys out there today.
Well, you say quick boys. I mean, from what I've been hearing, you're quicker than me at the game. So probably makes sense that you can be our analyst, and because I'm probably going to be saying stuff about things that drivers should be doing, and you'll just be sitting there thinking, no, Milky, what are you on about? But
Well, I don't know. Maybe I might be a little faster than you, but I still wouldn't consider myself quick. So we'll see. I'll do my best for sure.
to be honest, I don't think anyone can consider themselves really quick when they look at the field that we have coming your way tonight. Alessio Di Capua is racing as per usual. Daniela Haddad, our championship leader, he's currently leading by a couple of points over Alvaro Carreton. But instead of me talking about it and discussing it, how about I talk about it after we show you what the finishing order was last time out for round 4 at the Suzuka Short. Jarno Opmeer returning to the championship, securing his first win of the season, his first ORL win of many. Danny Haddad took second ahead of Arsen Kardanov, and it was Danny Lovecchia taking P4 to make it a good result of 4 Racing Point. Patrick Krutic in P5 ahead of Joni Tormala, and Dormaya Neuberger took P8 ahead of a very disappointing P9 for Alvaro Carreton, and Matthias Vipic secured P10. And what that has meant is that in the Drivers' Championship, we've got a few changes coming in, namely Complacency, the fact that Danny Haddad now leads the championship for the first time this season.
Yeah, and we were just going over the championship order, and I'm, again, we're not 100% sure. Are these up to date, or?
I believe
think
these are the up to date ones that we have.
Okay, excellent.
So Danny
Well,
Haddad.
it will be interesting. I like to see. I mean, this is my first time really getting to watch all the action. I've watched some of the esports races and the virtual Grand Prix and things like that, and so I know some of the names on this list. And of course, like you said, the man who needs no introduction, Jarno Opmeer, the man, the myth, the legend. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of claw his way back up the order with a good result here today.
Well, Jarno Opmeer with that one win, I think, has put Mercedes to the top of the Constructors' Championship. We'll take a look that away momentarily, but Danny Haddad leads by 2 points over Alvaro Carreton. Patrick Krutic a further 6 points down. Patrick Krutic having secured that win in Austria in those changeable conditions, getting the strategy pretty much bang on perfect. Danny Berejne down in 4th place. It doesn't look like he will be racing tonight, and we remember back to Zandvoort where he could have had a decent result, but sadly had issues with his rig, which caused him to DNF, and Austria was not fantastic for him, only a P4. Ben Sabiconi in 5th ahead of Joni Tormala and Jarno Opmeer. Alessio Di Capua down in P8 after failing to secure any points last time out. The first time this season he was outside of the top 10. Sven Zerner and Dortmeier complete the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. And Complacency, would you like to run our viewers through the Constructors' Championship standings?
Sure thing. Kind of fun to see Mercedes at the top. We don't always see that. So
No.
But with 76 points, coming up only 2 points behind them with that strong finish last week is Racing Point. Then in third, we got the Williams, a little falling further down now at 57 points. Pretty close behind is the AlphaTauri with 49, so only 8 points back there. Then 9 points back to Ferrari in fifth. Alfa Romeo 37, so only 3 points behind. It's getting tight there, between fifth and seventh, really. Renault in seventh with 34. Then you got further back Red Bull 22, Haas with 16 and ninth, and McLaren, who definitely needs a good result with 1 point.
I think that 1 point came courtesy. It was either of Pablo Joglar or of Felipe Sousa. I can't remember which, because both of them have secured a P10 at Zandvoort and Austria respectively. We'll see what they can pull through tonight here at Shanghai. So I think we should probably talk a little bit about the Shanghai circuit, because for me it's one of my favorite circuits on the calendar, but I know that is a very, very unpopular opinion, as most of the casual league races anyway are not fans with this circuit.
Now, see, I would tend to agree with you. I think it's also one of my favorites. That turn one into turn two it's extremely fun. It's kind of like, it starts off a little like turn one in Japan, like in Suzuka, but then you have that long braking zone. It's, you can't really run out too wide. You want to stay tight. But then also, I think on lap one off the start, there's usually some interesting dives down the inside a lot of time if you leave too much space, and you can see, double or triple overtakes in there sometimes, which is fun.
Well, when you think about it as well, the Shanghai circuit is very, very similar to that of Sepang in Malaysia, especially, turns 1 to 3, even, the likes of turns 7 and 8 is kind of similar to that middle sector in Sepang. So a lot of overtaking opportunities here at Shanghai as well. You've got two very long straights, one of the longest straights on the F1 calendar, or at least it used to be the longest straight before the introduction of Baku, I believe. So overtaking opportunities come in plenty.
Yeah, that long straight is really exciting too. The speed trap at the end, we'll get to see what kind of top speeds they're reaching, which gets, with DRS and a tow, it gets excessive back there, like 210 plus miles an hour. So I love that. And then you get that really hard braking zone into the sharp hairpin that kind of opens up. So, we've seen some dramatic moves. We saw, unfortunately, I am a Sebastian Vettel fan. I will defend him to the day I die. But I saw one of his races ruined there by Max Verstappen with some hard racing between the two. So should be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching these drivers on this track.
And as you say that, I'm just taking a look, because we are into qualifying. So without further ado, I think we should get this party started. 18 minutes of quali, 20 seconds have already passed it. And it doesn't look like one of the McLarens will be the first one out. And that might actually be the home driver himself, Yifan Yuan, heading on out.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's falling. Well, here we go. Now a few more starting to make their way out as they get their setups loaded in. It's probably just taking a minute to go over everything, make sure it's good, and check the weather too to make sure it doesn't pour down rain like it likes to do sometimes here.
Well, we'll have to see whether there is any rain scheduled to fall. Of course, Shanghai is a circuit that does see rain falling from time to time. I'm hoping, though, that we get to have a nice dry race, because when the weather's dry, at least during the race, it tends to mean we get some better battles out on circuit.
That is true. It's you get the better battles, but at the same time, silver lining with a rain race, I mean, you can see it's fun to see who can master the conditions, and especially if it transitions. Now that would be, I think, really exciting, is if we got like a mix, maybe start out dry and transition to wet, see who can stay on those softs and really get, or on the racing slicks, and try to get the most out of them before the transition. So see what the weather's like, but could throw something into it for us.
Yeah, precisely so. So we have about half the field out on our laps. The first man who will be setting a lap is this man, Pablo Joglar. So we should probably ride on board with him and see how he takes the lap here at the Shanghai International Circuit. into the final corner then. All about maximizing your exit speed for when you start your hot lap. And on the run towards the turn 1, it's all about getting ready for that braking zone. You just throw the car in with so much speed, trail braking all the way through, being careful not to lock up any of your 4 wheels. Down into turn 3, hold it nice and tight, slowly let it out and pull it back across so you make your way through a 4. Turn 5, of course, completely flat. Let the car out to the left as you slam on the brakes down into the hairpin of turn 6, just kissing the curb on the apex, back on the power and into, well, my favorite part of the track, turn 7s and 8. Turn 7, flat, pull the car back over to the left for 8 as you downshift to 5th gear, easy on the power so that you can pull it over to the right for the double left hand, and one of the trickiest parts of the circuit, turns 9 and 10, using up all of the track on exit. And on the run down towards turn 11, breaking out the 100-meter board, maybe just running a little bit wider, does Pablo Hoglar go through 12 and 13, and kind of working out the right time to get your foot onto the throttle through turns 12 and 13 is always very difficult, isn't it, Complacency?
Yeah, it's a good place to have a spin if you're a little, too ambitious. Especially following another car, and you really want to get that good exit because maybe they're going to dump boost, turn the fuel mix up, and try to get away from you before you hit the DRS zone. So it's a tricky corner for sure, especially if it rains. Again, that's another one that we'll probably see a spin or two.
Well, Pablo Hoglar will set a 29.3. Now, Arsene Kardanov is on a lap. Actually, never mind, he's just started his lap. Is anyone coming towards the end of a lap? Well, Fabrizio Donoso is. We haven't seen Fabrizio in a while, so good to see him making his return to the online racing league. Very quick driver, esports driver, of course, for Renault Team Vitality. Into the final corner, using up all of the curb, maybe runs a bit wide. I hope that doesn't invalidate his lap. Across the line, and it was a 29.0, but invalidated, and that's why you don't see it on your timing sheets, as Domenico Lovecchia goes up to the top of the standings with a 28.8.
And so already into the 128. So I kind of figured that might be about where we would end up. So that's unfortunate. The track limits here. That last corner, you want to try to carry as much speed through for that run down to the start-finish line, but it is really easy to run just a little bit wide, and the game has no sense of humor about that.
Now, Alessio Di Capua, who is our reverse Kimi Räikkönen. In case you didn't know, Complacency, when you interview Alessio Di Capua, you need to be prepared for a 20-minute long interview. The man is energetic, to say the least.
That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe he'll get a good result here, get a podium. We'll get to talk to him afterwards.
Hopefully we do. He usually jumps on in. Sadly, we weren't able to speak to him last time round after the Japanese Grand Prix. I don't think he was too pleased with his result. But Alessio Di Capua was actually backed on out of this lap.
It's interesting. I didn't see where he ran. It might have been earlier in the lap. There was when we jumped on board, it looked like he might have run a little bit wide, but I thought he was okay because he kept pushing.
Daniela Haddad on a lap. He's very low in the ERS department, and actually he's going to head right on in, so not going to try to push on a second lap. Matthias Vipic also not happy with his lap, so he's going to back on out. What about Andinator? He's making his way through the hairpin of turn 14. And just 16 remaining now, using up all of the curve, as we mentioned before, and keep the car straight to complete the lap. And apparently that was also an invalidated lap, so quite a few drivers invalidating here at Shanghai.
We've only got 8 actual laps right now. We've still got, let's see, do we have anybody else out there? We have a few people on out laps, but so that's interesting. Still the higher 128s. I think it's got to be that last corner. That seems to where you get real close there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it is turn 16 where people are invalidating. Now, Alvaro Carreton starts his flying lap. You've got Alessio Di Capua on his out lap, Jarno Otme on an out lap as well. So you've got a few big names to set their laps in the upcoming few minutes. But first, let's sit on board with a man who was leading the championship coming in to the previous race at Japan, now sits in second place, 2 points behind Danny Haddad, Williams' very own Alvaro Carreton.
Keeping it nice and tight through there. This double left-hander that can be so tricky. This is another place where the car likes to try to swap ins on you. See if he can avoid a lockup, and he does. There's been a lot of lockups there. That's pretty common. It's easy to run wide, and it ruins your whole exit onto the straight, and you lose so much time. Kept it together really nice there.
Yep, gets onto the barrel beautifully through 13, and now it's just 14, 15, 16, and remaining. And that is arguably where we're starting to see most drivers invalidate their lap times, and Alvaro Carreton will be hoping that nothing of the sort happens to him, maybe outbraking himself ever so slightly into turn 14, just missing the apex through the kink of 15 and into 16. Again, use up all of the curve. You have to be so brave, don't you, Complacency? Just have so much faith that your car will stick.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to carry that speed, because if you hit that curve and going too slow and the arrow's not working, that can be it. You'll find yourself going into that wall on the left side if you're not careful.
And sadly for Alvaro Carreton, it is only a 29.7. And Dario, the Shizou driver, jumps up to the top of the standings with a 28.7. That is an absolutely fantastic lap from the Alfa Romeo driver. And Jarno Otmir, let's see what he can pull through. In the Mercedes, of course, having just switched on over from Alfa Romeo to Mercedes. And let's see what he can pull through. Of course, when it's Jarno Otmir, nothing but the very best is really acceptable.
Absolutely. It is interesting seeing him in the Mercedes. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's kind of used to him. Got comfortable with him in that Alpha. It looked nice. But it's good to see him, move into the Mercedes. That's
through the hairpin, nice. And just turn 16 to go. 50 meters on the brakes, a turn in on the power,
and backs out.
Clearly not happy with that lap. Well, we'll have to see how much time he lost in that final sector. How, I do not know. I want to switch back on over to actually Felipe Sousa, who for me was very impressive back in Austria. Was only able to pick up that P10 in the end due to the changeable conditions. I don't think we saw him last time out in Japan. And now back at things, and we'll be hoping for another top 10 finish.
Keeping it tight through there early on the power. Try to get all that great exit all the way down to the DRS. Now it's a little blurry for me, so I can't quite see the speeds he's reaching.
206 miles an hour he managed to reach, I think, before he jumped onto the brakes.
Oh, a little too exuberant there.
Well, Felipe had confidence in his guy. He runs wide as well, which means that his next lap will be invalidated. So not going well for the Brazilian. What about Alessio Di Capua? One of 7 drivers yet to complete their lap times, or yet to complete a valid lap. Alessio Di Capua usually finds himself towards the top of the standings, usually very, very quick when it comes to qualifying. Never mind.
Pulls out of the way for someone here.
We've now got the task of trying to find someone who is actually on a hot lap, and Danny Haddad has just started a flying lap. We can see that he's in mode 2 ERS, which is usually a sign that the driver is pushing.
Yeah, you want to save it and just dump all of it. It just, dumps it over the whole lap. Now, what's interesting is sometimes, I'm not sure if this is one of them. I think it is where you sometimes run out of boost just before you get to the finish line, and that can be kind of frustrating at some tracks. But we'll see what the championship leader has to say about the 128.7.
To be honest, I'm expecting to see some low 28s actually coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Haddad, Jarno Otmir, or Alessio Di Capua are able to pull out a 28.4, but we'll have to wait and see. It would be a phenomenal lap time, to say the very least. I'm not entirely sure what their record is. And something interesting that I've just noticed, Complacency, is take a look at the tires being selected by Alvaro Carreton and Jarno Opmeer.
Oh, yes, I had noticed that. Trying to get the alternate strategy, start on the mediums, go a long way.
So when we saw Jarno Opmeer actually slowing down on the exit of the last corner, it was just so that he could have a reference sector 1 and 2 times. And Danny Haddad is going to throw the car into the pit. So still only 14 drivers to have set a lap so far.
Let's see, anybody else? We got Fabrizio Donoso is out there. And here's one.
Arsene Kardanov just improves to 29.1. And what is Falconardi? Is Falconardi pushing? No, he is not. So currently it's Dario leading from Domenico Lovecchia, ahead of CRG Patrick Yifan Yuan, and then the Red Bull pairing of Matis Vipic and Arsene Kardanov on the 3rd row of the grid.
We hit that 5-minute mark, and we still have 6 drivers left who have not set an actual lap time yet, a valid lap time. So track limits really playing their part here, and I'm wondering if that's going to translate into a lot of penalties. I know in the split B races there's usually not as much as you would see in like the virtual Grand Prix, but still a pretty hefty amount.
Yeah, we tend to get a penalty or 2 coming through. Not too many, but usually maybe about 5 across the entire field. Now, Dario is currently on pole by 0.02 of a second from Domenico Lovecchia. And he is pushing. This is likely to be his final lap that he'll be able to set, unless he dives on into the pits right now. And let's see if he can improve.
He's happy.
Into the final corner, using up all of the track on the power as early as he dare. And he improves by pretty much exactly 1/10 of a second.
We'll see if that's enough. It'll be interesting to see. Jarno still set the laps on the mediums. Alvaro Carrington now down in 11th. So see if he'll go back out on softs and try to set something a little faster.
Patrick Krutic aborting his lap. So clearly he's unhappy with the lap that he was setting. Now let's see Alessio Di Capua, because he started his flying lap and he is on a medium tire. So he has to make this count, because if he does not, he will be starting at the back of the grid.
And he might, I don't know if he'll have enough time. It takes, if you're pushing real hard, you know, it takes, about a minute and a half to get around without totally ruining your tires, I guess. But I don't know. Ooh, that's going to cost him some time. And that for sure will be invalidated. That's pretty wide. I'd be surprised if that wasn't invalidated.
So I think Alessio Di Capua has a few choices. One is to come in the pits and put on a set of soft tires, or to go for a second lap on these mediums. And I do know that usually you can get away with doing 1.5 hot laps on a set of medium tires.
Kind of weaving there. Wonder if he's trying to get a little more temperature in his tires. Maybe he's going to go again. It'll depend on how much fuel he put in. We'll see if he put in enough for 2 runs, because I don't think you would not have time. I mean, by the time they slowly push your car back into the garage.
But he's going again. A few drivers have started their outlap, and Alessio Di Capua still weaving. So has Alessio Di Capua just given up?
If he hasn't, that traffic's going to be, and Haas is going through. So that's, I mean, whether or not he was going, that's probably going to have ruined the lap. I don't think he'll be able to, he might be able to he'll set something, but whether or not it will be any good and keep him off the back row, that's a different story.
The entire field is out on track, with the exception of your provisional pole sitter, Dario. I don't know what his full name is. It just says Dario Lemol ... So I'm just going to go with Dario, because
Dario sounds good.
Yeah. You know, like Dario Franchitti. Proper racing driver's name, isn't it?
It's a good name. It's nice and easy. I like it.
We'll wait and see who the first driver out to set a lap is. I actually want to sit on board with Jarno Opmeer for when he does set his flying lap. So we've seen the drivers on soft tires, they have done a 28.696 as, you know, that's the benchmark time. What do we reckon Jarno Opmeer can pull out on the medium tires?
Ooh, that's difficult to say. I mean, I think he can get in the top 10, a 129.4, but there's so many people that as long as they set a clean lap, that he's got to. It's difficult to judge because there's so many people who haven't actually set one yet.
I'm going to go with a 29.2 as my prediction for Jarno Opmeer's time.
I like that. I think a 129.2. We'll see how close you get here.
Look at this field of cars.
Oh
There's
no,
front
what is
wing
that?
flying. Who has damaged their front wing? As everyone's trying to find a bit of clear air, they're all grouping up in the same bit because there's only 15 seconds remaining in the session. Jarno Opmeer might not get a clear piece of track. He's going to fly
Oh, he
past
tries
one.
to cut through.
Here we go. There's 8 seconds remaining, which means that Fabrizio Donoso is going to be the last driver to cross the line. But everyone's in the dirty air right here, Complacency. This is crazy.
Oh, this is amazing. It's like Monza all over again, except this time they made it. So
Yeah.
we get to see hot laps, quali laps in severe traffic. They're going to basically be racing each other, tripping over each other, trying to get extra. But the tow is going to be extreme if they can keep it together to that back straight and not fall all over each other.
Look how close Fabrizio Donoso is to the rear of Jarno Opmeer. He might even try to overtake Jarno Opmeer on the back straight. Don't forget, these guys, Jarno Opmeer's on medium tires and Fabrizio Donoso's on soft tires, so this is really hurting Fabrizio here.
Oh, he is. I would be shocked if he doesn't try a move. I mean, it's a DRS chain. It's basically a race lap. We've got a DRS train here. We'll see if he has enough. I think he'll get plenty of good exit here and should be able to. Hopefully, they don't ruin each other's lap. So Dario is a little bit ruined already going through all those technical bits.
Well, at the moment, it's a Patrick 1-2. CRG Patrick with a 5.79. Patrick Kutic with a 28.690. Fabrizio Donoso can't go anywhere. I want to see where Alessio Di Capua has gone there. Well, obviously, he was unable to improve. We saw that. He's on that 29.6 down in P14. Jarno Opmeer, what will this be? Not good. A 29.8. Fabrizio Donoso, a 29.6. Ben Saboconi is the highest of the medium place finishes with a 29.4.
And he's in P11, so that looks good. He'll have a free selection of tires. He can start on fresh tires if he wants. I mean, got through on the medium, so
I just
it wouldn't
realized
matter
Ben
if he was
Saboconi,
P10.
that lap, he did just do a lap on medium tires, but his fastest lap was actually set on the soft tires. So Ben Saboconi will be starting P11 and has free tire choice. So it's still all good for him.
Well, there we have it, qualifying over, and it was an exciting into it. That was for the first time I got to watch it. That was pretty amazing. I'm pretty excited about that. So excited to see this race now.
I mean, I just want to bring up that our top 3 in the championship, Alvaro Carreton, or pardon me, I should say Alvaro Carreton and Daniela Haddad, are outside the top 10. Same goes for Jarno Opmeer. Patrick Kutic is a 1 starting right towards the front of the field in P3. Domenico Olivetti, we've seen how quick he was last time out. So, 2 Italians on the front 2 rows of the grid. This should be spicy.
Oh, this is going to be exciting. We're going to see everybody cutting through from the back, so we should see a lot of overtakes in this race. And if Kutic can hold it together, this will be, I mean, he's only 8 points behind Haddad in the championship lead, so could leapfrog him here today, depending on what happens. It's going to be hard work from the others to try to catch up.
Now that we're loading into the race session, actually, we're going to be first heading into a short commercial break. And when we're back, we'll be bringing you the entirety of the race uninterrupted. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you tuning in, qualifying has just occurred, and we are about to jump on into the race. 28 laps here at the Shanghai International Circuit. And no, it's not Jarno Opmeer, it's not Alvaro Carreton, it's not Danny Haddad, it's not Daniel Berejne lining up on pole. It's Patrick, ahead of Domenico Lavecce, Patrick Krutage, Dario Lemullo, Yifan Yuan in P5 at his home Grand Prix, Arsene Kardanov and Matthias Vipic, Getone and Felipe P8, P9, and Ben Saboconi in P10. Now, Complacency, if I'm not mistaken, was Ben Saboconi not meant to start in P11?
That is what I thought. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And he was going to have the free choice of tires, but something seems to have
Pablo
happened there.
Hoglar is down in P20, and he's not supposed to be in P20. Did a certain McLaren driver pick up a grid penalty during qualifying?
I think he might have. I think somehow he seems to have picked up a disqualification.
Do you remember there was front wing damage? We saw front wings flying on the back straight when everyone was trying to find a bit of clear air.
Oh, I do remember that. Well, we'll have to see. Well, maybe we get a chance to ask. That would be a good thing to find out, because we didn't get to see what actually happened. We're following Jarno, but there was two big pieces of wing, looked like maybe end plate, that just went flying across the track.
Yep. And this has meant something rather disastrous if you are a Hungarian, because it means that Ben Saboconi has been promoted to P10. So that perfect qualifying lap that had secured him P11 and a free choice of tyres is now P10 and the worst possible position that he could have been in. Ben Saboconi, you know, usually would have the pace to qualify alongside the likes of Patrick Krutage, and instead he's all the way down in 10th on soft tyres. Everyone outside the top 10, though, opting for hard tyres, with the exception of the Renault, who has picked up, just like the colour of his car, the yellow walled medium tyres.
So it looks like they'll all be doing one stoppers, and the suggested strategy has it for two stoppers. But I mean, realistically, you could probably get away with one if you really stretch and get those hards on your second stint. I think it's possible.
Well, here we go then. Drivers are lining up on the grid. It's a Patrick 1-3 lineup. And we'll see what the Patricks can do heading down into turn 1. So, we wait for the lights here at Shanghai. And the revs will rise, because we are racing once again this season. It's a really good start from Yifan Yuan in the background, who will go down the inside of Patrick Krutage through turns 1 and 2, trying to push Dario De Lemullo up ahead as well. But Patrick Krutage,
looks like they've kept it clean.
They have kept it clean so far. Good to see side by side between the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo now on the run through 5, down towards turn 6. And it is Dario on the inside, will squeeze Patrick Krutage slightly wide. He loses the back end temporarily. This is going to give Yifan Yuan a great chance. No, has to slot in behind for now, side by side between the Red Bulls of Matthias Vipic and Arsene Kardanov, as the Haasov get owned, moves up to P8. Down into turns 9 and 10, a bit of contact and still wheel banging between the two Red Bulls as Arsene Kardanov desperately tries to hold on to B6, but they're still side by side. Down into turn 11, Matthias Vipic on the outside, Arsene Kardanov on the inside, but that outside will slowly turn into the inside all the way through turn 13. And we ride on board with Ghetto, watching all of this unfold. That's a huge moment with his rear end as he just holds it a bit too tight, and now Ben Saboconi is going to get a great drive on the Haas.
Oh, it's going to get really crowded down here. Those Red Bulls have been a roadblock for Get Owned, and now he's in trouble with that Renault. Let's see if he makes a move. No, he's just going to line up. But they're still side by side going through turn 14, coming to start. We'll see if they start their second lap. They might just... Oh, there we go. He falls in line. Oh, just barely, but it looks like he ran a little wide. He might get a warning for that one.
And now look at this, at the Haas, they're 3 abreast on the run and down into turn 1. Saboconi on the inside and around the outside it goes Get Owned. He's ghosting, and Ben Saboconi on the inside of 2 will gain a position and move up to 6, or will he? Because Matthias Vipic will not let this one go without a fight. Fabrizio Donoso just behind, watching this unfold, and Matthias Vipic has lost the rear end and lost part of his front wing as well. He'll spin the car around. But dearie me, Matthias Vipic falls to the back of the grid.
It's something that happened. I'm not sure. It might be. Let's see. No, something happened with the game. Yarno was down in P20 for a minute, but he's back up in P15. I'm not sure if that's just desync or if something happened to
I think
him.
it's just timing sheets being timing sheets, and Matthias Vipic being knocked to the top of the standings rather bizarrely. But we're
Up
still
at the
racing.
front, it's a little blurry. I can't quite see the delta, but it is. It looks like, yeah, 0.3 of a second between first and second. See if Patrick hasn't been able to pull away. They're going to have the DRS now, so that's going to be trouble for him. We should see some moves for the lead soon, I think.
We should. Now, Fabrizio Di Donato still a bit too far back from Felipe Sousa to have a look. DRS enabled on this lap. We're somehow already on to lap 3 here, Complacency. And Ben Sabaconi is falling a bit back from Gedondu, who seems to have sorted out whatever ghosting issues he was happening because his car is no longer ghosting anymore. Jana Watmere has moved up to P14, P16, Danny Haddad, P17. So Jana Watmere doing a really good job so far on these hard compound of tyres.
Yeah, he's going to want to get in front of as many of those others on the hards as he can so he can really take advantage of the clean air when the softs come in. Or even Fabrizio when he comes in on those mediums.
Fabrizio Donoso for now, just keeping his eyes on Felipe, waiting for his moment to strike. Don't forget, we talk about the DRS trains. Fabrizio Donoso on these medium tyres isn't literally the place where we'd expect him. On mediums, right sandwiched perfectly in the middle of the field between the 9 soft tyre runners and the 9 drivers on hards. Sorry, 10 drivers on hards.
It does seem like actually a pretty good place to be if he can maybe overtake 1 or 2 of these. He doesn't want to lose time fighting with them, and he can try to, maybe just hold back and save a little bit of tires, just really stretch those out. But, I mean, and then he gets the advantage of the toe. So if they can break away from those on the hards, and he has a nice, easy time of it, might see him stretch those mediums for a while, see what he can do.
Up ahead, though, Arsene Kardinov has just been overtaken by Gedondu, who's thrown it down the inside into turn 14. We just got a glimpse of that happening from Fabrizio Donoso's point of view. But now Gedondu up into P6. He has to worry, though, because he is 2 seconds behind Yifan Yuan, and he's going to have to defend from Arsene Kardinov without any DRS of his own.
That is true. He might be able to, if they swap positions, he might be able to, depending on if they're both catching one, then they can kind of slingshot around each other and maybe try to gain a little extra time that they might not be able to get on their own.
Here comes Ben Sabaconi down the inside into turn 6, super late on the brakes and pulls off the move fantastically. And the Hungarian climbs up at 2P7 as Arsene Kardinov steadily dropping down the field.
That was a great move from the Renault. Now he's knocking on the back door to get owned here. Maybe he wants to go catch one by himself. Maybe he doesn't need any help. Maybe that's what he has to say about it.
Fabrizio Donoso starting to make inroads. That was contact between Felipe and Arsene Kardinov. And that's going to give Fabrizio Donoso a chance to go round the outside of turn 12. Well, that was a brave stuff. He's pulled off the move, and he's already alongside Arsene Kardinov on the exit of turn 13. Fabrizio Donoso is absolutely flying.
He falls in behind him. Looks like he might try to go down the inside to fight back. So they swap sides for the hairpin. Red Bull on the inside. We've seen how that can go. But they keep it together, keep it clean, still side by side. See if he can get this move done and start the lap on his own. And he finally does, coming out of the final corner.
And Domenico Lavecce and Yifan Yuan are into the pits off at their soft tyres as here comes Felipe up the inside of Arsene Kardinov into turn 1, pulls off the move as well. And Arsene Kardinov on those soft tyres really starting to struggle right now. And he's got Andy Nater hot on his heels in the Ferrari on those hard tyres. And Andy Nater's hard tyres will be in perfectly good condition.
Got 5 laps down already. We got 23 to go. It's interesting coming in a little early, put on those hards. Those can go to the end, but I mean, I feel like if you can kind of keep those softs alive for a little bit longer, maybe to lap 7 or so, you'll probably have a pretty serious pace advantage at the end.
we'll have to see if they can keep those hards going to the very end. And just how worn will those tyres be? Ben Sabiconi is currently 4 seconds behind Patrick Krutic. He has overtaken the Get-Owned, and Fabrizio Donoso will be searching for a way through. First, though, Annator is on the tail of Arsene Kardanov. DRS moves to the inside, and easy as you like. Not even going to be stressful for Annator. They're still somewhat side by side, as the Ferrari behind of Alessio Di Capo looks for a move, but Jarno Otmir flies her down, is inside, and he hasn't pulled off the move as well. They're going to be side by side now, running into the final corner. Alessio Di Capo has to yield, and Jarno Otmir gains another position, moving up to P9, but that will very soon become P6 as everyone else dives into the pits. Jarno goes defensive, Alessio Di Capo looks for the outside, and Jarno Otmir pulls back across it to get the cleanest run that he can into the complex of the turns 1 to 4.
Well, there he goes. He's only got 2 more on hards in front of him, so if he can track those down, he's not that far behind, so I think he can still get in front of those and then make up, use some of that pace and clean air to hopefully make those hard tires really work for him, make that strategy really work. Some good defending. You can see the Red Bull coming out with those worn tires. Let's see, did he?
Matthias
yeah, he ended up coming in,
yeah, he had that incident, didn't he, at the end of lap, or at the start of lap 2, between himself and Arsene Kardanov, his teammate. Well,
and you could really see it wiggling around at the exit of turn 13. So I think those other 2 that are still on those softs, I would imagine they're kind of in a similar spot, but they're trying to stretch them.
No, Alessio Di Capo a half a second behind Jarno Otmir, and Jarno Otmir, as I like to term him, the Predator and the king of the alternate strategy. Well, he is on the alternate strategy, he's on the hard tires, and he has his fellow esports companion, Shanaka Clay, up ahead, more commonly known previously as a VSR Infamous. And let's see how quickly Jarno Otmir can find a way through, as that is your previous race leader of Patrick Krutic, diving on into the pits at the end of 6 laps. Get-Owned pitting as well.
So I think that is it for the softs. I think the only one on our first stint here that's going to be pitting soon is probably Fabrizio. He's on the mediums. I don't know how long those are going to last. So it looks like you can make 7 laps, maybe 8 if you're really careful.
Patrick Krutic
out of the
has
soft,
come out of the pits right alongside Yifan Yuan. They'll go side by side. Does Patrick Krutic have the temperature in his tires as he holds around the outside of turn 4 and will hold on to what is the effective P4 of the race? Dario Lemullo up ahead. Patrick Krutic just over a second behind. He needs to really dump that ERS battery to try to close back in to that 1 second DRS zone.
Yeah, Donato clear now. He's probably going to have to go. I mean, he's going to have to go onto the hards, so I don't know how much longer he really wants to go. He just kind of wants to get far enough ahead so he's got a good gap. But it'll be interesting to see. And then at the end, with all the hards coming in, probably onto some mediums. I don't know if he can build up enough of a gap to really make up too many positions. I'm not sure if that strategy is going to work out too well.
So there are 10 drivers out who did not start on those soft tires. As Fabrizio Donoso picks up a time penalty, one of the 2 drivers so far to have one. The other man is Patrick Krutic. So both the leaders of the separate fields have time penalties. One is Patrick in the Haas on those fresh hard tires, and the other one is Fabrizio Donoso, who is currently leading the race.
And it does look like he might be putting it's blurry for me sometimes, so I'm struggling to see the deltas, but it looks like it was up to 1.5, and I think
correct.
It's a little bigger. I think he's pulling away a little bit, it looks like. So I'm not sure. About how long does a pit stop take here? How many seconds are we losing when we come in?
I'm not sure. I would assume it's about 25, but that's just an estimate entirely.
So it's still really tight all the way back until you get to the only real big gap is P10 to P11. So as tight as it is, you're gonna lose so many positions.
Yeah, the only man who is really out of any chance is Matthias Vipic down in P20, having picked up a wing damage on the second lap of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, he would for sure need a safety car to get back in this one, but, you know, never quit. You never know what's going to happen.
Precisely so. Patrick Trutic slowly making inroads on Dario Lemullo, who is in third of this group of cars that started on the soft tyres. Jarno Opmeer not really able to make any inroads onto Shanghai Clay from Andinator in second all the way down. Well, actually, all the way down to Pablo Hoglar down in 10th. It's, everyone's just within a second. Alvaro Caraton has to be careful, as he almost is falling out of that 1 second range. And in fact, just that second, he did dip out of the range. So, Atte Kauppinen is really pushing in the Alpha Tauri. And can he break that 1 second gap to Alvaro? Well, we will have to see on that front. So Fabrizio Donoso is still pulling away from Andinator Complacency, but we have to kind of wait for that crossover for when those hards will start to become that little bit quicker than the medium tires.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the drivers behind him, they're within line of sight. They can easily see how he's doing. You can see if there's any wiggle there, and you can kind of keep a good gauge on how long those are lasting and when you want to come in. Just kind of do the math real quick in your head, like. So I would imagine they've got it pretty well figured out, but it would be good information to have maybe if something changes.
Now, Alvaro Caraton still 9/10 behind Atte Kauppinen. He is struggling to stay within that 1 second gap. He's got Danny Haddad hot on his heels, and actually Alvaro Caraton might be outside of the 1 second range at this next DRS detection point. No, he's able to use just enough ERS to get back within a second. He drops out through the corner, but he's already hit the detection point and closes back to within 9/10 of Atte Kauppinen on the start of lap 10.
Yeah, you can see how wide he ran there. He's definitely pushing as hard as he can to stay in there because he knows if he falls out of that DRS, then he is going to be a sitting duck for Haddad behind him. And he definitely needs, he wants those points to try to catch up. He's only 2 points behind, so that would, if he can beat him here, that'll put him in front.
And Gedon actually just passed his Shizou teammate of Felipe Nunes. And now he's going to have to try to close in to Ben Sabo-Conyi, who is at 3.5 seconds up the road. It will not be an easy task to close in the Hungarian Ben Sabo-Conyi, your ORL Season 12 champion. Unable to win in Season 13. I think he finished in second or third in the championship. I can't quite remember. He's currently 5th in this season, Season 14.
Just looking back to see how Get Owned is doing. Speaking of championship winners, I think when last season, I believe it was, Get Owned was at the front. I can't remember if he won. I'm pretty sure he did. But I remember him being the benchmark, the guy to catch whenever he was in. He usually won.
Who's this again?
SHD Get Owned.
Ah, okay. Yeah, he was in Split 2 last season, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He did really well. So got the promotion. It's kind of encouraging to see where he's going to end up. Still a long race to go, but as you know, for me, I was always with the not last challenge. That's my goal. And I feel like maybe when you get promoted, that's maybe the first thing. It's like, okay, first race to play, just don't be last. Just beat some people. And he's beating 3 right now, so he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, Matthias Vipic might be a bit of an anomaly due to having to have a pit for a new front wing, but Arsene Gardenov and Felipe, he's ahead of them on his own merit. And at the moment, your effective race leader is Domenico Lovecchia, who has already pitted onto the hard tyres. And we'll have to see whether the likes of Andy, Shanghai Clay, Jarno Opmeer, Fabrizio Donoso as well will be able to have the pace on the alternate strategy to climb through the field and challenge Domenico Lovecchia for that win. Last time out, Lovecchia secured that P4 in Japan, but he was in the hunt for the race win for so long. We just saw another time penalty coming in. What's that for Fabrizio Donoso?
I didn't see. It was came up. That would be pretty devastating. He's already got 3 seconds.
Well, he is pulling.
Clearly pushing as hard as he can to try to
Andy into
work
the pit,
those tires to
actually.
keep the advantage.
So Andy is saying that lap 10 is long enough for him on those hard tires. That is very early. Very
It does seem early. Let's see what he's coming out on mediums, so I guess he thinks he can go 16 laps on those.
Well, if Fabrizio Donoso can make 15 laps on his mediums, I'll say Andy has a good chance of doing it. But otherwise, we'll wait and see. And actually, Andy has come out right in that Shazoo group from 17th to 18th of Get-Owned and Felipe. So he's out in 16th. He's on fresher tyres than Ben Sabo Konyi, but he is at 4.2 seconds down the road.
Yeah, I think he'll make that up pretty quick. We'll see what his pace is, but I think he'll catch those first 3 in front of him without too much trouble. Yeah, he's already cut what 4/10 out of that on his first lap.
And I do wonder if we're going to see some of the drivers having to do a second stop, or at least Andy, because I think he's in a tricky position, and I have a feeling Fabrizio Donoso is probably going to be pitting at the end of this or the next lap for a set of hard tyres. We'll have to see, as Jarno Ottmer getting very close to the rear end of Shanaka Clay. And now that Shanaka Clay doesn't have a DRS from Andinator, Jarno has smelt an opportunity to move up into second place in the Grand Prix, as we just saw Alvaro Carreton diving on into the pits from his hard tyres. So it's not just Andy who thinks that now's the time to be switching tyre compounds.
Did say Donoso's pit strategy. The pit window is open. It said 13 to 17. So the game thinks you can do it. And usually if the game thinks you can do it, you can usually go even a little bit longer than that. So these guys, I don't think they'll have any problem. And they seem to know that. Some of them coming in early. But Ottmer should be making a move here. Definitely going to want to get around. And then once he has, like I said, once he has that clean air, he's going to be able to really put the hammer down and make up some time. Hopefully come out in a nice spot.
Now, Alvaro Carreton has not been having a good race, and it seems whatever issues he was suffering in Japan are coming to haunt him again here at China. He's down in P19. He's 6 seconds behind Arsene Kardinov. He's almost 10 seconds behind Andinator, who's on the same strategy as him. So Alvaro Carreton, now that he's, got this undercut off, he really needs to make it work, as Jarno Ottmer is going to be making a move work onto Shanaka Clay. And Shanaka will not go defensive. Jarno Ottmer sweeps past and moves up into second position.
Nice, easy move with the DRS, and then we'll see what kind of gap. I don't know that Shanaka Clay is going to be able to fight back much, even with the DRS, because Jarno seems to be having a better time on those tires, but it's looking a little loose up there for Clay.
Ate Kauppinen diving on into the pits, as we've got a bit of a battle going on, because Ben Sabo Konyi has just found a way past on Yifan Yuan. And that is for P13, will become P11. As Falcon Nardi and Ate Kauppinen drop behind. And Alessio Di Capua is very close, and he's going to send it down the inside of Shanaka Clay. But Shanaka Clay gets the switchback. They make a little bit of contact between wheels, but Alessio Di Capua, we know he likes to send it. We know he likes to make aggressive moves, but Shanaka Clay knew exactly what was coming.
That is good hard racing. That's exactly what I was looking forward to today. I'm sure we'll see another one of those down in that back hairpin.
Oh, you can bet it. Shanaka Clay, though, is within half a second of Jarno Ottmer, so Alessio Di Capua is not going to be having a DRS advantage on Shanaka Clay at the very least. And that's why I think, turn 6 is usually such a good overtaking opportunity, because it's one way you can overtake without needing a DRS. And if the driver ahead does have a DRS, well, it doesn't affect him into that particular corner.
Yeah, it looks like everybody here just going to stay in line, kind of bide their time. Jarno not really pulling away, so he might be in trouble there if he doesn't kind of get a move on. Because they'll lose time if they start battling back and forth.
Oh, Jarno's into the pit, so is Alessio Di Capua and Danny Haddad. Let's see where they feed out relative to this group as in the background. That's Bernardo Perez going down the inside of Arsene Kardanov, moving up to what is P17. But let's see where the likes of Jarno Otmir and a company feed on out. That's the pit lane exit line. They're behind Andinator. They will drop behind Get Owned. But crucially ahead of the likes of Felipe and Falconardi. What about Alessio Di Capua? He's come out right behind Bernardo Perez.
So that's not a terribly great spot to feed back, but I mean, honestly, as tight as this whole field is, there's not really a good spot you can slot into like we'd see with real racing, where you can kind of time it and feed into kind of the open and get a move on. So you just have to deal with traffic and start overtaking right from the start so you don't lose time. It looks like you already got Get Owned. He's on some older hards. That was probably a pretty easy move for him. He's free to track down Ate.
And look at Alessio Di Capua. He is really flying right now, right on the back of Falconardi and Felipe Sousa. Falconardi will have a think about the inside into turn 11, but unable to pull it off. He's going to get a much better exit, though, through 12, and he'll slot right into the slipstream of Felipe Sousa. All three of them have a DRS. Felipe Sousa was within a second of Get Owned, but DRS are not even needed. And can Alessio Capua make it 2 moves in 1 go? Because Falconardi's gone defensive. Alessio Capua to the outside. Aggressive driving from Bernardo Perez. And Bernardo Perez will just drive Alessio Di Capua off circuit. That's going to be one for the stewards to look at. These two have a history. There is a lot of history between these two at Austria, where it was Alessio Di Capua who was arguably the dirty one, and Bernardo Perez is having himself a bit of revenge as Danny Haddad sweeps past Felipe Sousa and up into P15.
Now with a bit more history between the two of them, it might be a little sketchy trying. Oh no! Oh no!
Alessio Di Capua, I think he got snagged by Felipe. He's reset to circuit, which I think is a penalty in and of itself, and he has left the session. Oh, Alessio Di Capua.
Good. I think I was just about to say that it would be kind of sketchy and maybe nerve-wracking to be one of the drivers in between those two, especially after that move. I thought he might be a little aggressive, and he for sure was. So that's unfortunate to see his race ended like that.
Yifan Yuan has run really wide, and this means that Andinator is going to get a fantastic run on to the Chinese driver coming through turns 13 and just sweeps past, doesn't even need a DRS. Andinator up into a P9. Yifan will slot in to the slipstream. It will be too far back to have a lunge. As in the background, Jarno Otmir has up past Ate Kauppinen for P11, and now can look to hunt down Andinator, who Andinator right now is kind of on course for potentially securing his first ever ORL victory.
That would be exciting to see, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get away. He's got a little bit of traffic. If he can keep almost throwing cars between him and Jarno, try to trip him up with some other slower cars on the track and use that to kind of get an advantage. If he can overtake quicker and more efficiently, that's going to really help his chances.
Jarno Otmir currently 1.5 seconds behind Andinator. Now, Andinator is in P9. Your effective race leader as of this point is CRD Patrick, who is in 4th place. Fabrizio Donoso, Shanaka Clay, Pablo Hogla all need to pit, and I have a feeling that they're all opting for the soft tires, so they're going to be incredibly rapid when they do make their pit stop. But those soft tires, they really wear out quickly here, Complacency.
Yeah, I think we saw people sliding around a little bit after about 5 laps on them earlier, and that's when those guys came in, which again still seems a little early. And doing a 2-stopper, I don't know if the 2-stopper will work here as fast as you're going to be, though you do have the good overtaking opportunities.
Here comes Jarno Otmir. DRS slipstream on Yifan Yuan, and Ate Kauppinen will follow through. Ooh, Jarno has to be careful, almost came across it. Yifan Yuan just a tiny bit too much, and that could have ended in disaster. Shanaka Clay has just made a move on Fabrizio Donoso. So we have hit the crossover points. Those hards are definitely quicker than the mediums now. And Fabrizio Donoso will be wanting that lap whenever he wants to pit for those soft tires to be coming through as quickly as possible. And right as I say that, Andinator around the outside of Ben Sabokonyi into turn 3 and 4. Andinator will gain another position, but Ben Sabokonyi surely won't let this one go without a fight through the kink of 5 and down into 6. Ben Sabokonyi too far back and will slot back behind Andinator, who moves up into 8th position.
Puts a little bit more of a buffer between him and Yarno, luckily for him. And now up in the front, Donoso has to be getting off of those. He's been on there a long time. But if he can stretch them out a little bit longer, then I'm wondering if he thinks maybe I can do a one-stopper and really stretch those. 9 laps would be a long time for the softs.
Yeah, and you can already
But
see Shanaka Clay has
I think he can do it.
I was just going to say, Shanaka Clay has pretty much pulled a second to Fabrizio Donoso on that 1 lap alone. It was less than a lap. So those mediums for Fabrizio are really struggling right now.
Yeah, it's back and forth. I mean, if he gets the DRS to help him a little bit, but as soon as he falls out of that, I think if you fall out of DRS, you might want to, just come into the pits. And here he comes, it looks like.
Is it hards or is it softs? That is the question. If it's hards, then it has been a terrible, terrible miscalculation. Nope, soft tires then going on for Fabrizio Donoso.
Oh, this is going to be exciting.
He needs to do 10 laps on those soft tires.
That is a long time.
We have to.
I don't know. I mean, people struggled after 5, so he has to double that.
I mean, we're talking about the majority of the field who started on soft tires, albeit these were soft tires that drivers qualified on, so it would have already been at about 10% wear. They were only able to do about 6 laps. They pitted on lap 6, so this is going to be a very difficult strategy to pull off, but let's just see how good Fabrizio Donoso's tire wear is. He's down in 15th right now, and surely for the Renault driver, the objective just has to be to get into the points.
It has to be, but I don't know how he's going to get around. He's got to navigate all this traffic, go around all these drivers, pull off these overtakes while saving his tires, which you've got the tire advantage, but how long is that going to last if you're in dirty air and trying to cleanly get around and not waste any time behind anybody?
Now, speaking of wasting time behind people, Jarno Watmere is now on the back of Ben Sabokonyi. Both have DRS, but Jarno Watmere will move it down the inside and surely pull off the move as well. Indeed he will. He moves up a position as we're seeing Fabrizio Donoso going up the inside of Alvaro Caraton and moving up one further position. Up ahead we can see Danny Haddad right on the tail of Yifan Yuan. This is for P11. And I'm sure Danny Haddad will get the move done. Heading up into turn 1. Closes in, Yifan Yuan will not go defensive. Danny Haddad moves up into P11. But Complacency, take a look at the sky because it is getting mighty dark out there. And actually, that is Falconardi going down the inside of Yifan Yuan. And space was not left. And Falconardi, a.k.a. Bernardo Perez, will drop down the order.
Ooh, some rain would really make things interesting right now. And he's kind of been left on his own now. He's run out of drivers ahead to throw behind him as roadblocks, and now it's just him versus Jarno. And Jarno's got the fresher tires, so he might be a sitting duck here. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold him off. He'll have to get his elbows out pretty wide.
The question is there rain that is meant to come? Because if rain comes with about 4 laps remaining, then all of a sudden Fabrizio Donoso has played it very, very smart with those soft tires. But then you've got the likes of Shanaka Clay, Pablo Hogla, and Patrick, who, they're essentially doing a one-stop when everyone else will have to do a 2-stop. Either way, Andinator under pressure from Jarno Watmere. Jarno will move to the inside. I don't think Andinator will be too displeased that it is Jarno Watmere who is passing him for position. In the background, Fabrizio Donoso has just swept through on Yifan Yuan. Alvaro Caraton will follow the esports driver through and have a bit of contact on the exit of the hairpin. It won't cause either of them to spin.
And Donoso's going to be looking to track down Haddad. Carrington is going to be right behind him. He's not going to want to waste any time. He's not going to want to fight with Donoso unless he knows he can get right around him, because 3 seconds up the road, you got 7 laps left, 8 laps left. So they're on the same tires, and Carrington's are a little bit more worn. He's got to get ahead of him if he wants to protect that or take that championship lead.
Now, is it just me, or did I see a spot of rain? It has gotten dark. And one thing that we always bring up, and I think we always should bring up whenever we talk about changeable conditions, is that the harder compound of tires perform better in the changeable conditions than the softer compound of tires, which means that your top 6 are in a slightly better position. But as I say that, bit of a move coming through. I definitely saw some spots of rain. You can see it is visibly drizzling right now, and Pablo Hogla has dropped a few positions. Shanghai Clay is leading by 6 seconds. And have we hit the crossover point yet? Shanghai Clay on 20-lap-old hard tires. Surely those hards are going to be absolutely dead right now.
And it doesn't look like it's raining that much, so I don't know if we'll ever actually get to a point where, I'm with this few laps, I think most drivers will probably just stay out. As long as you can stay on that little bit of dry line where the cars are moving everything out of the way. Looks
Dario's
like
pitted, and Patrick Krutich has pitted as well. They clearly think that the rain's coming down quick enough that it'll be time for intermediate tires. They've only done 15 and 13 laps on their hards respectively. As we're riding on board with Atte Kauppinen, and you can see Ben Sabakoni sweeping around the outside of turn 1 and 2. Surely he's not going to be able to pull that move off. And the answer is no. Intermediate tires going on to Dario Lemula and Patrick Krutich. Now the question right now, Complacency, is have they absolutely nailed their strategy? Have they pulled off the Jensen Button of tire decisions?
I don't know. I think it's too early for the intermediates. It usually takes 2 or 3 laps, just a few laps before things get really greasy. So, and if those intermediates in dry are just worthless.
Well, we're riding on board right now with Dario Lemulo. The gap was 10 seconds to Yifan Yuan. Let's see how that gap evolves. Oh my god! Dario Lemulo has just gained half a second, and DRS has been disabled. Dario Lemulo, Patrick Krutich, Alvaro Carreton, and Gedon, Felipe as well, have pulled off the god-tier strategy. They have rolled the dice, and they said this rain is going to come down, and it will come down on this lap. And they have been rewarded for their bravery. Fabrizio Donoso has just found a way through on Ben Sabakoni, but all of these guys are going to have to pit at the end of this lap for those intermediate tires.
It's already down to 5.5 seconds. Now it's really greasy. They're making up so much time, so they just played it perfectly. Oh, still move. Still got some moves in the hairpin.
He's run into the side of the Renault. You can see how much they're struggling. They're slipping and sliding everywhere. There is no grip on the tracks in Complacency. I have a feeling we might even be into full wet conditions by the end of the race.
That was cheeky, because now if they're coming in at the same time,
you don't want...
there he goes around. He does it. He did a Sebastian Vettel and just yeets it down the outside. That was incredible. He doesn't want it because he's going to get held up here. Look, now he has to stop.
No,
he has to stop. He's losing so much time. That is
That is a questionable, to say the least. You have to feel for Ben Sabakoni, and Fabrizio Donoso's left the session. Well, that is adding salt to the wound. Wow. But look at the track. It is absolutely flooded. It is definitely wet. 3 seconds between Shanghai Clay and Dario Lemulo. And it is looking like an Alfa Romeo 1-2. This takes me back to ORL season 12 when it was raining in Shanghai, and it was James Baldwin and Danny Berejne who had an absolutely amazing battle from lap 1 to the end of the race. And it'll be the Alfa Romeos at the top again, but not the same drivers at the wheel. I think Shanghai Clay was actually racing in that race.
Crucially, if we look, Alvaro Carreton is now ahead of Daniel Haddad, which means he will take the championship lead, I believe, unless Krutich is 6 points behind. I'm going to have to do some math here. But it's going to definitely mix things up in the top 3 of the championship order for sure.
And Ben Sabakoni is going to be furious. You know, he's in a championship battle, but here comes Jarno Otmir. Pablo Hogla will go defensive, but Jarno finds the space nonetheless down the inside. into turn 14. He pulls off the move. Pablo Hogla desperately trying to find the grip on the outside, but he cannot match the Flying Dutchman, and the Predator moves up to 5th.
What a great move. Now he's free to track down his teammate ahead. 2 seconds. That's, let's see, we got 5 laps, 2 seconds to make up. Can we do it? 3 seconds.
Pablo Hogla's not done yet. He's forced Jarno Otmir to go defensive into turn 1. He won't be able to find a way through. Can't slot his nose down the inside. Now Jarno Otmir 3 seconds behind Patrick Krutic, and it is a Mercedes of 4 or 5 at the moment. Domenico Lovece having a strong run currently in P3.
Yeah, they're not going to want to. Jarno's not going to want to risk. He needs more points. He's not going to want to risk his whole race. You know, being too aggressive or too defensive with Pablo, but I think he'll steadily start to pull out. Looks like he's got half a second. He does seem to be able to handle that a little bit more. He's got a little bit more grip. Just keeping it together nice without sliding the car too much. So you want to slide it to a little bit to a certain extent.
You need to have that rear end rotation, but Jarno Otmir 3 seconds behind Patrick Krutic, lap 24 of 28. Is the rain going to get any heavier? It does not look like it at the moment. You can tend to see that it's visibly wetter when we're going to be moving on to full wets, and it doesn't look like the rain is coming down any harder at the present point in time. And I do feel somewhat for Andinator, because I feel like Andy was in such a great position to get a good result, but he's all the way down in P9, Alvaro Caraton in P8. Jarno Otmir, you know, he'd want a better result than P5. But in terms of the championship, this is what he needs to close in to Danny Haddad, Patrick Krutic, and Alvaro Caraton.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's not the best, but everybody's kind of suffered a little bit. I think the rain was, it seemed to be a little, I don't know if it was unexpected, but sometimes when you look at the weather in the game, it'll tell you it's going to rain just at the very end, and, you know, with a couple laps to go. And then it happens where it's like 9 laps early. And so it's not exact when you're looking at it. So when you're picking your strategy and you see rain, that's one thing to consider. A little slippery coming out of there. He's just slowly, he's almost a full second behind now. But Jarno, it doesn't look like he's catching his teammate. They kind of seem to be maintaining that gap just about.
Yeah, but Patrick Krutic is closing in onto Domenico Lovece. In fact, all of the top 5 slowly getting closer and closer together, being spread out less and less. Atte Kauppinen is closing in onto Andinator. He's within a second, but we know in the wet conditions it is so difficult to overtake.
Yeah, once you get off that dry line, you lose braking. You get understeer, then you get huge snaps of oversteer as soon as you try to get on the throttle. Even, you know, when if you short shift too early, then you have no power coming out of the corner. So it's a very fine line. You got to be nice and gentle here on the throttle and brakes to make those good moves.
Patrick Krutic now 1.5 seconds behind Domenico Lovece. He's actually, you know, pulling away from the F1 esports champion of Jarno Otmir right now.
Well, that's impressive. Maybe he's trying to show, he's like, hey, I can do this too. Maybe I'll win next year. So, and then we got, is he actually catching? It went blurry again. I can't see if he's catching Domi in front.
He is.
It's like still 1.7. I don't know if it's, I don't think there's going to be enough time. We've only got 3 laps left. They're not catching each other that quick. So we might, looking down the order, we might kind of have it pretty set. Patrick, CRG Patrick might be able to send something in the last lap or 2 on Pablo.
Yeah, this would be Pablo Hogla's best result of the season, who's only had that 1 point scoring finish back in Zandvoort, where he finished in 10th place, and well, this would be a whole bunch more points going into the money bank for the McLaren driver. And after having to start from the very back of the grid, things have definitely gone his way in terms of fortune, and he's having a much better show of things.
For sure. There's a lot of interesting options. What do you think for driver of the day? Because that's for sure a good showing.
I'm just trying to remember, Shanghai International, did he ever pit off the hard tires, or was he just always running on those hards?
I think he started on those hards.
Was it the same for Dario Lemullo as well? Or did he... No, I feel like Dario Lemullo did pit off the hard tires at some point.
Was that one of the early... Because there was those 2 or 3 drivers that pit real early, like that 5.
Yeah, from the softs over to the hards. Yes, Dario Lemullo was one of them because he started on the soft tires on the front row of the grid, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I'd have to look back at the qualifying order. Everything's been mixed up so much. There's been so much, so many just strange things in quali and the race. I gotta say, for my first Split A race, I don't think I could have asked for much better.
Well, we have had a drama here at Shanghai, to say the least. Jarno Otmar now 1.8 seconds behind Patrick Krutich on the penultimate lap of the race. You can see Patrick closing in onto Pablo Hoglar, riding on board with Alvaro Caraton. We're searching for a way through. Alvaro Caraton, as things stand, would be your championship leader. Wait, no he wouldn't. It would be Patrick Krutich. And your top three pretty much completely inversed after the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's going to completely inverse again tonight.
Oh, that is incredible. Let's see if there's any... Well, everybody else is a little further back, 37, 34 points for Berezne and Sebo Konyi.
Actually, as things stand, Patrick Krutich would be able to extend the championship lead to Jarno Otmar. But Jarno would be closing in to Alvaro Caraton and Daniela Haddad. Danny Haddad currently outside the points. Needs to get within 3 seconds of Ate Kauppinen. And I'm just going to check. Yes, Ate Kauppinen only with 3 seconds of time penalties at the moment.
So here we go. We're going to be coming onto the last lap. These 3 are real close. I would be surprised if we don't see some kind of just late lunge. Not from Kerrigan, though. He's sitting.
Oh, here comes
pretty
Alvaro
right now.
Caraton. He's got the ERS. He's going to go down the inside of Patrick. Patrick tries to hold it around the outside. Does he run wide? He does indeed, but they're still side by side now through to Alvaro Caraton. Has found an opportunity. Down the inside goes Patrick, trying to hold desperately onto his position. Patrick, your pole sitter of the race, holds back the championship, or I should say the ex-championship leader of Alvaro Caraton, as Ben Sabaconi picks up a time penalty. That won't be affecting the point proceedings in the slightest. Jarno Otmar is also within a second of Patrick Krutich, and we might be seeing a late move for 4th position.
For sure, going down into that hairpin, I think we're going to see some excitement here. And that was fun. Turn 1, you know, when that line swaps over, when you're in the wet and then that line comes across and you kind of swap advantages throughout the corner.
Well, Shanaka Clay is 5 seconds up the road, and I think Complacency, even if you or I got thrown into that car, would be able to take the win from this position. Been a fantastic drive from him. He's got the strategy bang on right. Is there anything that Jarno Otmar can do on Patrick Krutich? And I don't think there is. He's going to use all of his ERS, but Patrick Krutich has ERS as well. So we're going to shift further back because Alvaro Caraton has closed in on to CRG Patrick. He'll move to the inside. Patrick can't defend the inside in time. Late on the brakes to go, the pair of them. Alvaro Caraton will squeeze a Patrick out wide. Patrick will not be happy with that. But Alvaro Caraton will take the position. Shanaka Clay wins ahead of his teammate Dario Lemullo for a 1-2 for Alfa Romeo. Domenico Olivecchia in P3. Patrick Krutich and Jarno Otmar take a 4th and 5th for Mercedes. Pablo Hoglar in P6 ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Patrick Andy in P9. And Ate Kauppinen holds on to P10.
What a late move. What a race. That was so exciting to watch. So we got everything. We got the late rain. I think the only other thing that would have been interesting is maybe a safety car to bring Arsen and Vipich back into it. But as it stands, excellent from all the drivers. Just great fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame for the 2 Red Bulls and Alessio Di Capua. Shame as well for Ben Sabaconi being held behind Fabrizio Donoso. You can view it as you will, but Fabrizio Donoso diving past Ben Sabaconi into the pits and then proceeding to instantly retire, which just rubs salt into the wounds of Ben Sabaconi. But that is the end of what has been a very, very entertaining race.
Driver of the day, Jarno Opmeer. It's a hard choice, like we said. I think our race winner starting just with the strategy, just getting it right. Nice, classy celebration there for the win. Great day for the Alphas. It's good to see.
Shanghai Clay made the strategy work to secure the win. Jarno Opmeer able to pick up a fast lap of the race and will be taking home that one extra point. And there you go, Shanghai Clay, one of 2 drivers in the top 10 to have only used 1 compound of dry tires. Both Shanghai Clay and Pablo Hogla starting on the hards and making their way to the very end from that point. But I think on that note, we're going to be heading into a short break, and when we're back, we will be bringing you the full post-race reactions, including driver interviews as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we await our 4 drivers to join us so we can have a quick chat about them for the entire proceedings of the race. But if my very, very, and I mean very quick maths is correct, Patrick Krutich now leads the championship from Alvaro Carreton, Daniela Haddad, and Jarno Opmeer in 3rd place. Ben Sabaconi unable to score any points. Same goes for the likes of Danny Bereshne, who did not show up. Joni Tormala also not present. So, I mean, the stage is really set for Jarno Opmeer to take 2 back-to-back titles.
Yeah, good day from Curtiage. It'd be, hopefully we can get him up here and talk to him. But that is interesting. Like we said, the top 3 have completely inverted. It was looking good for Carreton for a while, but I think things got interesting. Everybody got mixed up so much, but it's still really tight there at the top, I believe. So we'll try to get him in there. I see Fabrizio Donoso, no comment on what happened.
Well, someone who will probably have some comments, not about that incident, is our race winner, Shanaka Clay. Shanaka, that was, I think, what we can only call a strategic masterclass.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, in quali, we saw that there was rain coming right at the end of the race. So a lot of the field, probably about half the field, chose to abort their laps or go on mediums to try and start on the hard tires at the start. And I just tried to stay at the front of the hard train so I could make my decision whether I wanted to pit for mediums or stay out, trying to go to the rain. Obviously, it was the latter, but it was getting a little bit tense when the rain wasn't coming. With about 10 laps to go, the tires were going off drastically, and I was wondering whether I made the wrong choice. But fortunately, the rain came in time, and yeah, the rest was history.
You had, I'm just trying to remember who it was in front of you. Actually, yeah, you had Fabrizio in front of you on the medium tires. Did you ever, worry, oh, maybe he'd be able to make it to the rain on those mediums, or it might be difficult for you to close into him? What were your thoughts in that scenario?
Well, he got away from us at the beginning with a good pace, a few seconds up the road, but unless the rain was coming a lot earlier than predicted, which it can do sometimes, maybe that's what he was banking on. I knew he wouldn't make it. So it was just sort of a matter of running my own race and picking him off when his tires dropped, which they did significantly. So he had to pit, and I just took over the lead while everyone else pitted around me.
Finally, you also mentioned as well how it was a bit risky and you weren't sure if you should have pitted onto the medium tires. When you saw the majority of the field on those hard tires pitting for their mediums at around, I feel like it was a lap 12. What were the thoughts? How close did you come to bailing on your strategy?
Well, at that point, it was kind of a battle against myself rather than the others, because I knew, like, when people started to pit, they would undercut me, and I would just be pushed back in the train.
Yeah.
So I just committed to my own strategy and hoped, basically. And yeah, fortunately, it turned out.
Well, Shanghai, congrats on the win, and will we be seeing you next week?
I'll see if I can fit it in the calendar, but hopefully, I don't know any information about the calendar or what I'll be doing next week. But yeah, if I'm free, I'll definitely come say hello again.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you then, hopefully, for next week. Thanks again for joining us, and congrats on the victory.
Cool, thank you, man.
Right, next we have our P4 man, Patrick Krutic. And Patrick, P4, maybe you could have done more, but on the plus side, you're now leading the championship. How does it feel?
I don't know. How can you be leading the championship when you don't have a pace? I don't understand this. Yeah, I was struggling this race with the pace to keep up with top 3 on my strategy, and it was very hard. But yeah, luckily everything just came together, and the strategy was right. The pitting time was very right. I thought that Jarno, once he overtook me, because I was just before the hairpin, and it was the moment when it started to rain, and I knew the rain was very, very intense. Like,
Okay.
I knew that on this lap, even though that it started to rain, I knew that I have to pit, so I thought, oh my god, Jarno just overtook me, no way, he's going to box and he's going to block me. But I don't understand why he didn't, and he continued, and I just went into the pit and took inter tires, and I just overcut Jarno and few people. So yeah, everything was pretty lucky on this race. But yeah, I have to sort out my pace because it's not enough to hold this first place. The luck will just stop. Sooner or later. So I need to find a pace because I don't really deserve to be there on pace, but on how I drive, definitely I think I've done a good job.
Well, you've shown fantastic consistency and your race strategies have been on point. I just want to go back to the call to pit onto the inters, because myself and Complacency, when we saw you dive on into the pits for the inters, we were wondering, okay, this could either be an absolute godsend of a call, or it could completely screw your race. And I say this as someone, I mean, obviously myself and Complacency have done league racing, but we've been completely screwed over in the past where we make these calls and we think the rain's going to come down, and then there's no rain for like 2 laps and our inters are destroyed. Was there any part of you that thought that could happen, or did you know 100% the rain would be coming down?
Well, to be honest, on that lap, I just knew that after, I think, the hairpin, I knew that, the rain was very intense. And I knew this is the lap, because once I pitted and I just went out, obviously the DRS was disabled, but I knew after the hairpin, so very, very last moment, I knew that this rain's gonna be very, very intense. And the next lap, if I stay out, there's no way that the slicks would have been good enough for the conditions. So I knew that it was this moment after the hairpin. So very, very last moment.
Well, Patrick, congratulations on P4 and congratulations on being at the top of the standings, and we look forward to seeing you in action next
Thank you very much. Wow, can't believe it. Thank you, guys. Cheers.
All right, next up is Pablo Hoglar, and we were talking previously to our race winner, Shanghai Clay, who pulled off the hard intermediate tyres. Only one other driver did that. Pablo, you made it work. You managed to secure yourself that P6 and to get yourself some extra championship points. So I just wanted to ask you, kind of what were the thoughts behind the strategy and everything else involved in the race?
Yeah, first of all, it was amazing, mind-blowing. For me, it's the best result of my sim racing career, this P6. Obviously, first of all, the qualifying, I saw that it was going to be raining, so at the end of the qualifying, I was P9, but I wanted to start out of the top 10 to choose the hard and to go to the end and make the strategy that I did work. So I disqualified myself at the end of qualifying to start last, and I think it was worth it. And part of it was thanks to my Twitch chat, because I was streaming and they told me, get disqualified, start outside of the top 10 and hope the rain is going to come. And it was amazing. Obviously, I'm a bit frustrated, just a bit, because I didn't nail the lap to pit for the Inters, and if I did that, maybe I was fighting for the podium. But anyways, this is a great result. As I said, the best result I've ever done. So yeah, very happy.
I mean, it was a genius call to get yourself disqualified, but I think you might have to send a bit of an apology to Ben Sabukoni, because he had got the perfect lap in to qualify P11. And when we got into the race, myself and the Complacency, we were talking about, Benz was in P11, it'd be fantastic on hard tires. And then we realized, oh, he's in P10. How did that happen? And then we said, why is Pablo down in P20? What has he done?
Well, I will apologize, but at the end, it's just pure strategy. Yeah. I know it's a bit frustrating for him, for sure, or a bit or a lot, but yeah, in the end, it's yeah, pure strategy, and I did the best for myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from me, no complaints. I think that was just an absolute genius call. So congrats on the P6, Pablo, and we look forward to seeing you in action next weekend.
Yeah, thank you. See you in the next weekend.
All right, next up is Andinator, and Andy, I don't know where to start this one, because I was so hopeful for so long. You looked to be in such a good position, and I don't really know where it went wrong. Was it just, a case of the strategy just not working out for you?
Yeah, just got completely unlucky with the strategy. I went for P11 on the quali, which worked out perfectly. But yeah, I knew the rain was gonna come, so I went for the undercut on medium. But I just wouldn't have thought that the hard was gonna make it to the rain. I think I was actually ahead of Shanghai Clay on the hards. So yeah, if I would have stayed out, I could have actually won it. So yeah, very frustrating.
I mean, your pace was absolutely fantastic. As you mentioned, you were ahead of Shanghai Clay for so long. Can we expect to see this pace continue over the rest of the season? Because you've been picking up consistently in the points, and surely we can see more of these points to come through and you climbing further up the standings.
Yeah, I hope so. Pace was okay, but wasn't perfect. Didn't look perfect, especially on the medium stint. But yeah, just frustrating because of the strategy.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in action next weekend.
Yeah, thanks.
Right, I believe we have Yifan here. Complacency, do you want to take this interview?
Can you hear me?
We can.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yifan, your home Grand Prix, I think this is your first race in ORL as well, if I'm not mistaken. How did you find it?
Yeah, actually, it should be the second race in ORL.
Sorry.
Yeah, and yeah, it's always tough for me to drive such a race in the midnight. But yeah, I mean, what a fun race! And Korea didn't manage to set a good lap time, and in the race, I think after the pit stop, after the first pit stop, my pace wasn't very good, and also I pitted very late, changing to the intermediate tires, so lost a lot of time, and also because of I think it's Feb retiring the pit lane, so I got stuck for a very long time, so just only can bring home to P15, but still really fun race, really enjoy it.
Just looking to the future, do you see yourself being able to finish in the top 10 in future races?
I believe, I think most depend on I think my race pace need still a lot to work on, and hopefully in the next few races can have the chance to finish in the points.
Okay, well, Ethan, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck to you in the rest of the pardon me.
Yeah.
Best of luck for you in the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Right, Complacency. I believe that is the end of our interviews. Well, crazy race really at the end of the day.
Amazing race. One of the best I've ever seen, honestly. I mean, as far as league is my first time getting to watch the Split A guys really go at it, and like I said, I couldn't have asked for a better showing. It was really interesting strategy, some rain at the end, and I think that's the first time I've heard of someone making a strategic call to disqualify themselves.
I have a feeling that the stewards will look into it, but to be honest, that was a genius call, and he got Pablo Hogla P6, so kudos to him, and kudos to his Twitch chat. You know what they say usually about Twitch being backseat engineers and stuff? Well, Pablo had faith in his backseat engineers, and it paid off for him.
Well, he's got some good backseat engineers. I wouldn't mind having some of those myself. That was he was playing like 5D chess at least. That was big brain move for sure.
Well, that is all that we do have time for. From myself, Milky Cereal, and from Complacency, we'll be back next weekend for round 6 of the championship. And until then, stay fast and good night.